Hello, everybody. I'm here with a wonderful panel to talk about adult animation and where it's heading. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then we are going to start to talk about future. So here I have Charlotte de Gourderie. Who are you?
Hi, I'm a film producer. I co-founded a production company called Sun Creature, based in Copenhagen and Bordeaux in France. We produced recently Flea, that was nominated for 3 Oscar in three different categories. Sorry, we thank you. We working a lot with Netflix, doing Splinter Cell as a TV series together with Ubisoft. And we have a few projects for streaming platform and a lot, mostly for adults actually. Yeah.
And the wonderful Amel Lacombe.
Yes, I'm wonderful. Hi everyone. So I'm the CEO and founder of Eurozoom. It's a French theatrical distribution company. We do a lot of films, live action also, but we are the leader into adult animation in France, theatrical adult animation in France, especially Japanese anime, but not only. So we also work in European projects, and I am working with Jan and his production company for the next release of Epiphania.
Bruno Felix, the wonderful Bruno Felix.
Oh, thank you, the wonderful Bruno Felix. And also founder and director of Submarine, a production company based in Amsterdam, London and Los Angeles, where we do a lot of different things, and we adore and love to work on adult animation. We recently released on Netflix Richard Linklater's new film Apollo 10½. We worked on the Amazon Prime series Undone for the 2nd season, released 2 weeks ago. Currently working on Fernando Trueba's new They Shot a Piano Player. We're one of the producers of Buñuel and the Labyrinth of the Turtles. And as a distributor, we worked on the beautiful Flea, but also going to release The Island and one of our other own productions will be in Annecy, Lai Lai's new film Silver Bird and Rainbow Fish, and many other things.
And the one and only Jan Kunen.
I'm wonderful.
Two, of course, but that goes without saying.
Thank you. So me, I'm more. I mean, it's very interesting to be in that panel because it's the second time that it's a good sign. Because last time I was in a panel of virtual reality, but I haven't done a film. Now I haven't done really an animation adult film yet. But then I'm here to talk about it because I'm more a featured director, regular films with actors, live action. And but I always be passionate by animation, and I have 2 projects of animation film with Naya Production, Séverine Lachier and Philippe Aigle, and one of those projects with Amel is called Epiphania. It's an adult, not adult, a teenager. And what do you say? It's not for kids, not for kid film, animation film. And I'm doing it, starting to developing it, but we are not in production yet. Hopefully, we'll be soon.
You know, I was very surprised in recent ceremonies like the Oscar and the César that animation was still considered for kids. For example, at the Oscars, they said, and now we are talking about the film that children love and bored parents to death. And in the César, Antoine Decaune wasn't very respectful to the people from the Sommet des Dieux. Why do you think there is so much work to do to make people understand that animation is a medium and that it can be for adults?
I think it's maybe there's not enough film being made. I think for the Oscar, which is a bit complicated, I think because the network is owned by Disney. So you have 3 voices, the 3 actresses presenting the animation prizes at the Academy is is 3 actors from Disney movie. And it is quite disrespectful the way it's been announced, but after that, a lot of filmmakers came to us, to the Fleet team, and say like, we don't understand. And I think the directors that Paul Thomas Anderson, like a lot of great directors came in and said like that they really enjoy the film, and like animation is not even a question; it's just about what the story is about, and then we're using the medium of animation to tell a story. So I think I really encourage like to do more film like that, because I think at some point it's not going to be a question. I think it's still a question, but I'm hoping that we're not going to hear that question anymore soon.
Yeah, but I think like we also see beautiful signs, right? Like, so it is, I think people are frustrated when things like that happen, but at the same time, there's a lot more of adult animation being produced and also appreciated. So like in my company, we also do a lot of anime titles, and there you see that there's like a young audience growing up with beautiful Japanese animation, telling very interesting and layered stories, and they are addressing and finding an adult audience. And we can build on that, right, as European filmmakers, and I think we're doing that. And I think if we keep on doing a diversity of television animation, premium animation for TV, and also like real cinema for adults, like Jonas is doing, I think then we will educate the audience, grow it, and in 20 years from now, it will be no question anymore. So we need some time, right?
Yeah, but meanwhile, you have to pay the bills.
Sorry?
Meantime, you have to pay the bills. So is it easy to produce and distribute an animation by Multi-V when it's not for kids?
Well, producing and distribution of any film is always hard work, and that's not a problem. That's a joy. And so that's also true for animation. It takes time, it's hard work. The financing is sometimes a bit tougher than for perhaps like a family film, but it's also rewarding in another way. It's a growing market, and it just takes this little bit of extra effort. But like looking here, we have like 4 people in the panel that are enthusiastic and passionate about adult animation, so it will happen.
So yeah, I always say to when I speak to theaters, I always say an animation movie is a movie, full stop. So it's true that sometimes when we release movies addressed to young audiences, young adults or adults, we always found out the day of the release that some theaters just put one screening on Wednesday because it's Kids' Day at 2 p.m., which is a complete illogical thing because most people work on Wednesday at 2 p.m. So, in fact, I think the generation is always also changing in the theater world. Theater owners are getting younger, and I think they understand what is adult animation. But it's a process, and it's a long process.
Why did you choose animation as a director for your new projects?
Because animation is cinema, like, and you know, I discovered just now, because I never thought like that. I discovered now that maybe I will have to fight sometime when there is after a film question and answers. They talk about the fact that, for example, documentaries, they talk about you have done like this number of films, but say, wait, I've done feature documentaries that count the same. It's films, animation, and animation is the same. So, of course, artistically, there is no difference for me. My favorite film for years when I was just starting doing cinema was Akira. But it was a cinema film for me. It was just like not a question of technique. So cinema is cinema. Why now? It's because I guess 2 things. A bit like the interest, for example, for series. For me, it was no interest for many, many years. But creation went in a certain level and possibilities. And I think in animation, technically, today you have a lot of mixture. I think the thing is like growing in a nice way, like the eclosion of something is getting bigger, and the boundary that you have very separated between the genre, the techniques are like fading, like anywhere else actually. And yeah, so when I enter art school, for me, I wanted to make animation film. I never did it. I did only pieces of my films because that was a good way to tell that piece of the story. So this project is so special. I'm talking now about Epifania, the film we are. It's very special. It's very visually. You can do it in live. You can think about doing it live, but then you count into so much million, and then still, I think it will be less interesting for me. It's another fight. I think animation allows you to go in art dimension, to make metaphoric, to be more poetic in a certain way, but the way you treat the film, for me, when I do the storyboard, when I do the script, or think about the character, it's exactly the same as I do a film. So why now? Because now I think the room is coming up. My interest, I see more and more bigger animation, even in the series. You know, sorry, I'm going to talk about networks which are not cinema directly, but I was blessed, you know, when I was in the 80s when I saw Heavy Metal, the film, because I was animation adult, I was like, wow, at the cinema. And now you see what? You see Love, Death and Robots, which is creatively, you know, something super interesting as the next film, maybe from a big director that you love. So yes, super. Let's hope that there is finance for that. That's only the thing I don't know really. So.
And it's also true that CGI is more and more predominant in live action, so it's getting also closer to animation. Yes. They are bonding.
I think also the change will come with big money and big business. There was an article in Variety yesterday saying how Japanese animation became the most bankable cinema. So I think now the audiences, we are at a time where the audiences are really ready to go into theaters massively to see animation for adults. So I really think we are at a crossroad now, and if we can speak of forbidden words, I think all the platform, the work that they're doing, is also by opposition. It also because a few months ago I released into cinema Akira in a remastered version, and it was a huge success. And everybody told me, no, it's not going to work because it's everywhere on platforms, it's everywhere on DVD, Blu-ray, and so on. But the reality is that the people want to see it on big screen, and they want to share the emotion. They want to see the movie as it was intended, meaning a big spectacle. So I'm really confident that we are at a crossroad, and things are changing. And I'm really confident that the movie we're working with Ian and the production team, Epifania, who tackle with very, very present preoccupation, ecology, capitalism, the survival of the planet, the future for the young people. I really think it will be able to move people and to bring them to cinema.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, also, I think one other interesting thing what you notice is that was also present in the pitches that we just saw, is that more storytellers are interested in telling stories that sort of like bring together different realities and different perspectives in their storytelling. And they also, I think, a lot of storytellers discover that animation is just like a perfect way to express these different realities and combine them in a very seamless way in creating one sort of story world, like merging different story perspectives or realities or times. And you see that works in anime, but it also works in a lot of the sort of art house stories that are being developed, and also like the adult animation series that are being created. And I think it's also, so I think the type of story that we want to see right now is better told in animation. So I think it's just our time is coming as animation producers.
That was the case for Flea. That's what you are mentioning.
And I have to say, I'm working with Netflix in LA, and we have a slate of feature film for adults with them. And it's you probably saw in the press that the family department in Netflix went down, but not the adult one. So we have one big TV series of Splinter Cell and one feature film unannounced yet with a director who haven't done animation before either. And they ask us to propose animation for adults, and they like only 13 plus. That's so. And 5 years ago, when because it took about 5-6 years to finance Flea, and we did it on the classical way. The financial plan, there's almost 40 financiers on the financial plan, and it was like really like question, but why animation, and why do you take, because it costs quite a lot of money compared to a documentary. But then there's like, so why would you use the budget for documentary to do one movie? Like, it doesn't add on. But the argument was, but using animation, you're gonna have 4 times, maybe 5 times more people watching the film. But the thing is, you need films that works, like, thanks God for Vals with Bashir or Persepolis, because then you can build on your case when you apply, like when you try to finance your film. So I think we really all producers and directors are helping the industry. But I also want to say, which is strange, is that for me, why it worked for Flea is because we had like script writers, editor coming from live action and from animation and from documentary, and they worked together and brought the best of their own field into the film. But I think here in Cannes, you don't have a lot of people from animation, and in Annecy, you don't have people from live action. And it starts there. It's like live action people go to the live action market. Documentary, they go to IDFA, they go to the documentary market, and they have these different schools, different commissioners, different, so it's already so in boxes that it's really hard to like, how can we be more transversal? And I think that's what was wonderful to see that Flea was in 3 categories, because it means that the expert, our peers in documentary, our peers in live action, and peers in animation could recognize this as a film. And I think I really want to underline that we need to not think about one box, but I think the world it's easier to put things into boxes. But I don't think it doesn't, for a movie, I think we all are gaining, a movie is gaining to bring the best from the filmmakers in general.
There is something we haven't addressed yet, is what is an animation for adults? How would you define that? Where do you draw the line?
I mean...
That's not an easy question, really.
Yeah,
there are no lines, right? I think that's also what Charlotte tries to say. Like, there's, like, if you have a story and you want to tell it to an adult, it's an adult animation. Can be anything. Can be comedy, can be horror, can be television, can be long, can be short. I know there's no...
Actually, the line is not so clear, because when you talk about Japanese anime, for example, when we release the movie in France, we release them in 2 versions, a French dubbed version and a subtitled version. And we can see very clearly that we have 2 audiences, the kids and family, and the young adults, and old people also. So in fact, it's more about the subject, not about the technique. Of course, when we release Belladonna of Sadness, which is like a very horny movie, of course we don't address it to kids. But when we release a movie like Your Name or Wolf Children, there is several level of lecture. Young kids can like it for things that are different than adults. And we also have, in France, we have the chance to have an audience that is educated into original version with subtitles. So it gives us really a large panel of different audiences, cross audiences, and that's how we can make a success with movies, because we can address several audiences.
For Flea, you have you're showing the film on TV before showing it theatrically. Can you talk to us about that? Is it a good model?
That's just in France, because in the other countries it's not the case. But because it's been financed through the TV department in Arte, you need to respect the chronologie des médias.
Media chronology?
Yeah, media chronology. So therefore it's going to be released on TV the 30th of May and in cinema by Oecourt the 28th of August. But and it's going to be the French version, dub on TV, not the original one. But I think it's interesting, because what I like about TV is that it's very democratic. It's for free, you know. So for me, this movie needs to be watched to like question and like try to like push the debates and, about the topic that it raises. So I'm actually very happy it goes on TV. I think people will go into the cinema. That is, cinema lovers will go to the cinema. I think it's so it's not the same audience. So I think I'm very curious to see what will be the numbers on Arte, and then to compare them with the tickets.
We were talking about the platforms. I'm hushing. We're talking about the platforms. What do you think is their influence on what's going on with the adult
It's
animation?
huge. Like they are. I remember, like we started the company about 8 years ago, and we already pitched animation for adults, and they were like, no, like France Télévisions, like they were like, no, there's no market, and if there is a market, it's going to be on Slash TV, you know, so it's like the France Télévisions digital, and it's the minute price there. It's so low, it's very hard to make. When you have the ambition to do like Akira movie, it's like this kind of level of animation. You need to have the cost that goes with it, and I think what the platform does, they bring a lot of money. That's the it's very hard to compete unless you're a huge producer, and like it's like the minute price is like 40,000, 50,000 a minute euros, even more. You know, it's very and in the TV series in France will be more around 15,000 euros per minute. It's hard to compete. But that being said, then you know the rights is a real question. You know, so.
I understand that the platform, from a production company, the platform can be really appealing because of the price and the financing. But if I take the example of Japanese cinema again, because it's more or less my specialty. For example, last year, Amazon Prime released worldwide the last Evangelion movie. And actually, the fans were very, very, very mad because this release, the movie was expected like it was really, really something really. They were excited about this, and it was released on Prime in August with absolutely no promotion or no communication or nothing. And every fan who saw it on Prime said, but this is not a movie for our cell phones or iPads or TV. This is a movie for theaters. And because of the media chronology, it was impossible to show it on theaters. And actually, the creator of Evangelion was really, really mad about that. So I think the productions are going to have also to listen to their talents, because not all the talents are happy to be released on the small screen. Some people still want the cinema.
And Jane Campion's movie, The Power of the Dog, has been released on theater because she pushed her production because it was financed by Netflix. She said, like, it needs to be in the cinema.
Not in France.
Not in the US. So I think it's also big because she's a huge name, so she has the leverage of pushing and challenging the platform. Not everyone has Jane Campion name, so.
Yeah, we are talking about also household names. I mean, the creator of Evangelion, he has the power to do that. When you're, what would you decide if you could choose? Would you be ready to go to a platform, or would you say never?
No. The choice is. I mean, it's very simple. It's very simple. You do film for cinema. You want this experience on a big screen. We all remember that every time we go to cinema. So cinema, the collective, everything. I mean, okay, that's no way. Now, when you start to have many films that could not be done because they could not be financed, because they bit special or whatever, then you could say, okay, maybe they could do film festival, maybe some little release financed by a platform, and then you do your story, because otherwise you stay a script, and the script is not the way. So that's the other possibility. But today there is films and on certain projects. I'm not talking now just for a minute about adult animation, but just about cinema.
It's okay.
Okay, thank you. No, but some film, you know that you could make a really good special little film, and you know it could die on cinema, whatever. You know it. You don't want to make altogether a great film, so to the cinema have the bad taste in the mouth that is gone like that, and stay with that taste. So this I will do it, but please festival platform, because I don't want to face because I know that now the market is that the way. You see what I mean? So for that reason, on film, sometimes you can start to think, I prefer not, because it's a bit too hard to finance it and too hard to release it. But for adult animation, I'm thinking really that it's a moment for adult animation to be on the screen. I went to see, I saw Akira on the screen. I went to see it back when I was touring of another film. I opened the door and see the big picture of the release in France. And every time I see animation in big, when I go to NC or at the cinema, I'm like, I love animation on a big screen, because it's like a big painting or seeing a reproduction. So we even enter another space of things. And I do films for that, for the sound in 7 channels and the experience and stuff. So there is no way. But would you make the film? No way. Or would you make the film? That's now the question of the filmmaker are taken. But I think there is something new and a hope and a desire. Whatever the platform will do, it will bring people to see this kind of other film, in a big screen. So that I think it's interesting. The creativity is there.
Yeah.
But let's go to cinema.
Yeah, but I think there's always a choice, right? If you develop a project to go for a theatrical film or for like a television or a streamer film. But I think we have to, acknowledge that with the streamers being present in our market, they at least helped to educate an audience. And they helped, like for example, Love, Death and Robot in the 3rd season now. There's like a new appreciation for short film. So they offer a set of possibilities that is good to develop talent, to develop audience, and to create like more adult animated content like available for our audiences. And then obviously we should keep produce for the cinema, and then also profit from other ways to have talents at work and tell stories.
Of course, I understand that the view is different from the production side and from the theatrical distribution side. I'm a theatrical distributor, so of course I'm not rooting for Netflix. But I have to say that before France was seen as an ugly duckling because of the media chronology and everything. But you must acknowledge that even the Oscars came back to the theater rule, because a few days ago they announced that next Oscars they will only accept movies that are theatrically released. So there is something here that the cinema is offering, and we are all really suffering, theaters and distributor, because the market, at least in France, is not coming back at the pre-COVID level. But everyone during the confinement said cinema is dead. Cinema is not dead at all, like punk and like Elvis. So I really think that we have collectively to take really good care and good attention of the cinema experience, because if we don't, we're going to lose a generation, because old people, senior, I shouldn't say old, senior people did not come back to cinemas in France after COVID. So we really need the younger generation to come back more regularly into theaters. And I think adult animation is a very, very, very good way to make them come back, because they thrive adult animation. So I'm really confident about the future of adult animation in cinemas, and it's an extraordinary medium with an extraordinary richness. You have projects that are completely different: Free, Akira, Epiphania, the island of Ankadamian, everything. It is such a rich environment, and you have so many diverse propositions that I really think we are a major asset for theaters to try to lure back the public and the young public.
I completely agree. But the fun that I think that some of the films, like a film like Flea, for example, that have like a strong hook, like a documentary, they even do perform better in the cinema than they can do when you release them just as a one-off on a streamer, because there's no way that you can So also not for the streamer to market or to position the film in the right way. And I think because I also run a distribution company, it's easier to connect to the audience and give them a little bit of context and invite them into the cinema, and it can be very successful. Also for like films that are perhaps like a bit tougher, like Anka Damian's like The Island, or you have to work a bit, but then you can bring the audience in.
So in your point of view, who are the demographics who go and see this film? Because they are so different, these films, I mean. Between Flea and Akira,
Well,
as you
like-
said, there is such a difference.
What I notice in the Netherlands at least, and that's different for any territory, I guess, but there's a true appreciation of younger cinephile audiences that are really. So we have like cinemas in Holland that are very good in addressing younger audiences, and that's really people like in their early 20s or in their 20s that come and appreciate these animated adult films, and that works quite well. It's not huge audiences, but it's a great way to grow these audiences. Yeah.
For Japanese animation, I think it's more diverse because people in France there are like a few generation in France that has encountered the Japanese animation in TV when they were kids. So they have like this acquired taste, and they are really eager to see it on the big screen. But also, I think the big difference between adult animation on a platform and adult animation in the movie theaters is that when we distribute a movie in theaters, we do a huge amount of work before the release. We work with the press, we do pre-screenings, we work with associations, depending on the subject, of course. We work with stakeholders, we work with schools, we also have billboards everywhere in France, we have ads in newspaper and so on. We have all these communication assets that are really not at all used by a platform. When the platform is releasing a movie, they just say, okay, I'm releasing the movie, and that's it. If it's a big director, it will be on the homepage. If it's not a big director, it will be like a small drop in an ocean of, I don't know, ocean of things, to be polite. So seriously, guys, choose the theaters.
But I don't think it's so black and white. I think it needs to be a combination. I think it's because it's. I mean, it's without. I think the platform is helping to change the mainstream, like the animation for adults. Is also because of Netflix bringing like Arcane and Love, Death and Robots we worked on it as well. Like I never managed to get a budget like that from any podcasters. It's. I mean, I love cinema. I go to cinema, and I think it's very important. But I think some film can be done for cinema budget-wise. I can't raise a budget like if I do Netflix Love, Death and Robots quality. I can't raise it like through the classical way.
Yeah, that's what Jan was saying. It depends on the movie, really, and the name you have. And Amel is not agree.
No, I really understand the production side. I really understand, but I cannot. For me, Netflix is not doing the work on making people discover animation. For example,
I agree with you.
If I take anime, why is Netflix on anime? Because a few years ago, Disney decided to do their own platform. So that's why they were so interested in Japanese anime, because before that, they were not. So there is absolutely no genuine interest on that. It's just a business decision. So it's easy now to be presented like the savior of anime, but it's not true at all.
And I don't think I agree with you. They're not. And,
No, it's not what she said.
And the challenge, you know, when you go to the Oscar and Netflix has 15 movies, the directors is like. Probably not next year, but this year was like, I feel a bit like the director, they can see like the budget from Netflix, they're giving different budgets depending on movie. And if Netflix decide that it's a Mitchell versus the Machines that is getting a lot of money instead of another film, it's just like, it makes, it put the directors and the production team in a weird situation. And so it's, they're helping to make it the adult animation a bit more mainstream, but we need we need theater, and we need, especially for the rights. I mean, as a producer, the biggest challenge for me with Netflix is the rights. How do you keep the rights? They come like they want buy out everything, and you're like, but that's not how you make a catalog as a production company. That's not how it works. There's broadcasters, there's commission editor from different institutions that has built since the Second World War a way to finance movie in Europe, and you're coming as a big platform and questioning, like, put them that in danger, where there's really an industry in Europe that worked for many years to have this diversity, and if you only have the platform, then it's the diversity is in danger. And
I understand perfectly from the production point of view.
Yeah, but let me be the devil's advocate. You said that to make people know and love adult animation or animation for adults, you have to have many, many, many projects, and that more and more they see, the more they will be used to see it. There is obviously no room for everyone in theater. Don't you think, it's a question, don't kill me, don't you think that there can be room for everyone? For both way of distribution, and that it might be maybe MLM, maybe a way to make people know better adult
I think it's a combination. It's the same when you make. I'm so happy go on Arte for free because people are paying this part of the taxes on a yearly basis. So it's for free. I'm so pleased because not everyone will pay 10 euros to go to the cinema to watch it. So I think for me it's more a combination of how can it work, and working on territories, because the distributors knows their audience in their own country. You have to work with every distributor in each country to make sure that your film is appreciated and come at the right time. They are the one who knows their territories. So I think it's really it's really a combination.
But there's also obviously a very logical combination between the two. Like a lot of people enjoy binging series, so that it's 8 or 10 or 15 episodes. And if you want to do that in animation, which can be done, which is great to do, obviously you're not going to see it in the theater, but these are the layered and the complex and the contemporary stories that you can tell in animation that do very well and is a growing market. And I think that is nice to produce. It is a different type of monster to produce as a director or as a producer, and it works quite nicely alongside the feature-length stories that are great, obviously, for the theater. And also, feature length can be done on the platform, but I think this is a lovely distinction. Do the odd formats on the platform, like from the collection of shorts to the longer running narratives, like a couple of hours, and then have the 90-minute intense cinematic experience in Armel so loved dark room somewhere.
But I also binge watch series on Netflix.
No, don't do that. Come on.
Whoa.
That's a confession. Is somebody taking notes here?
No, but they're series. They're not movies.
She's being taped. We can blackmail her later. When you put on a big project like yours, Jan, do you have to think about all the countries it's going to be distributed in? Because, and take all the decision artistically to be sure that your movie will be able to be released everywhere. I think that must be the same, of course, for live action. But does it change your perspective?
Actually, I never thought about that project at that question. So, no, because I think you always put something with... I know it might resonate human things and the theme and everything. So the language in animation is something else. And in adult animation, you have subtitle. So I think it's great to do a film in French and being subtitled and maybe being dubbed in some countries. But we'll see. No, I never thought. I think in all my life, I never thought about how it could be taken in other country. Do the other country want the film? Do they think the film resonate in their culture and as an opportunity? Take it. I just do the film. And I try not to do it to me and my friends, only other people that we like the same thing. I try to open it. Getting older, I understand a little also that to be generous in a certain time instead of being sometimes a bit too radical. But still, you have this balance to do. And I love the film which has that balance. So I don't think at all about foreign things, but I love to go in the other country and being into the cinema and that's suddenly understanding that it's an old culture that is super different, and they seeing the film. And sometimes I was shocked. Like in India, I remember on 99 Francs, there is a scene of masturbation at the beginning of the film. It was in India, and suddenly I felt the room like silence. It was a comedy effect, an absolute. And I said, "Oh gosh!" And then it was okay. And I will love that. And that film that will sing that people in every film, people you laugh in France, you cry in another country.
And as a producer, what do you think about that? Do you have to think about?
I mean, I was part of a conversation when I was in the States during the Oscar campaign, where discussion was how the platform made more the American audience aware of reading subtitle. Because we dubbed as well the Flea we did a US version because Americans don't read subtitle, but that's changing because there's on Netflix and HBO and Disney Plus and all the platform, there's a possibility of watching, for instance, 10%, Call Your Agent, the French TV series, in French with English subtitle, and that's up like it's a new thing that actually the American audience is used to read subtitle because of because foreign films and series are on the platforms.
But I was more thinking about themes and censorship and than the subtitles, really.
Yeah, well, I think what is interesting in animation is like if you follow the co-production model, right, in order to finance a film. Like it's different if you start your film in France than when you start your film in Denmark, right, or in the Netherlands, because like a big majority country can perhaps like finance like majority of the film, and then the creative sort of can be in the hands of like a few people local to that culture. But if you start a film out of like a smaller European country, you're forced or obliged to co-produce, and that will mean that you from the start of the development of your project, you have to start thinking on how and where do you invite another country or another creator into your project. And that is a very conscious and a very, obviously, especially with an adult animation or an author film, is a very conscious decision that you have to make, and you have to make very carefully together with the initiating creators. And it can be a writer or a director. And that's not always easy. It's doable, but it's something that you cannot just like go ahead and figure it out later, right? Because that's difficult.
To me, I think you have to be careful to not want to please everyone. I think if a topic works and it's really because it touches the subject, in the story is very specific. So if you want to please everyone, I think I will be afraid of losing everyone as well. And I think then it's more I do love work with the PR and marketing. How do you market for the US? How you do a different poster? How do you what do you choose? What are the theme and the under theme? So it's really more not the film, even though you can have like people from different countries working on the film. But I think it's I will try to make the film you want to make, and then see okay how do I talk about it, and then it's people specialized in marketing and PR and publicists that.
Yeah, but if you finance and you need to get money from another country, then funds require that you have a certain amount of creative energy from that country.
Yeah, but the great thing about animation is everyone drew, like once you have the art direction, put it in the, like for instance on Flea and Other, like I'm working on a TV series for Cartoon Network, we did all the script in Denmark, the storyboard in Denmark, and then all the background in France, all the animation in French, because so it's the art, the animation Bible is in place, the art direction Bible is in place, the art directors is there to check. So it's but the story, so it's in animation, it's maybe a little bit easier to it's so expensive animation that if you do like 20% or 30% of the animation somewhere, it's almost a third of the budget.
So also, I think when you speak about young adults, there are a couple or many themes that are really universal. For example, all the preoccupation about Earth and the living and the ultra liberalism, capitalism, the being lonely, the question of should I have a kid or not. All these are really, I think, universal themes that we find in Epiphania, for example, and I think they can really speak to everyone because they're understandable by any culture, I think.
But it's also interesting that you mentioned there are adults and young adults. And which is the difference as far as movies are concerned for you?
Age. No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. Okay, so the difference for the work or
for the work and
for releasing
the demographic of the audience.
Yeah. I think young adults are they're more excited about things, but also they're difficult to move into theaters because most of them only come for the huge tentpole release like the Marvel universe and Star Wars or things like that. So I think it's really important to show them the way of theaters and to it's complicated to communicate with them actually because they're always on their phone. They don't read papers. They don't read newspapers. Sorry, Caroline.
Got a site too.
Yeah, but they don't go there. They go on TikTok, which is why we have TikTok in Cannes here. I think as a distributor, they're a challenge because we need to change our way of communicating. They don't care about posters in the streets. They don't read, which is really important in France is the critics. They don't read critics. So we have to find new ways of communicating with them, mostly on social media. Yeah, so it's a challenge for distributors.
But also nice, right? So because especially in the anime, also in my company, we really sort of build relationship with the fan base very directly.
Exactly.
And be visit on all the events and the Comic Cons and all these places, and
Exactly.
have a sort of like a constant dialogue that you then also add to sort of social platforms. And it's also interesting because it gives you like a very intimate relationship with your audience as a distributor that is then, right? And it sort of helps you to understand when and how, for example, what language, what type of subtitle, how they appreciate the launch of a film. So it's an interesting way you talk completely different to a young adult audience than you do to an adult audience. The art house cinemas in the Netherlands are primarily visited by women of 60 years and older. That's true. That's what it is. And so that means that there's another way to reach them than when you want to talk to like a 20-year-old kid, right? Or like an 80-year-old.
And I think we need to, these 2 years of COVID where young teenagers have been watching the platform in their bed, and there's, I think, a huge work to do on education, maybe in schools, to educate how to watch a movie and what, because I think it's super hard to get them back or even create that wishes to spend 10 euros that they maybe hardly have and get out and be social, because it's a social, even though I go by myself in the cinema, the teenagers, they go by group in the cinema. So it's how do you work that? And I think schools have a big part of educating images and relationship with cinema.
I'm completely agreeing with you about the fan base. The fan base is really important. So for us, we made the fan base at Annecy. Annecy has an important fan base, popular fan base. And we also meet them at special events like Japan Expo, for example. And we also have a very close relationship on Twitter, which can be sometimes very, very demanding, because once you establish this relationship, the kids who is not sleeping at 3 in the morning expect you to answer his question about at what time the movie is playing in a small town in France. But and when they're not happy, for example, with the dubbing or with the poster, they will speak out and infuriate everyone. So it's a difficult balance to get a relationship with them. And also, I wanted to talk about the director point of view, because sometimes, you know, for example, I ask people, do you know who is the director of Squid Game, who was a huge success, planetary success on Netflix? And everybody say no. So I really think that it's really important as a director. Of course, Jan has already his notoriety, everyone knows him. But for example, when you take a young director and his movies are only shown on Netflix or other platform, it's very difficult for him to get recognitions. It's very difficult for him to evolve, because actually people don't care about the director on Netflix when they binge watch something. So again, it seems that I'm obsessed with that, but I really think that the cinema experience and all the work done by distributor before releasing a movie is something that is to be cherished and kept, because the future generation, we're talking about future generation of moviegoers, but we should talk also of future generation of movie makers, and working for things that are only binge-watched on platforms is not the way of creating new Jane Campions, new Spielbergs, new
Well,
things.
there's also like I understand what you say, but there's also a job for producers, I think, because like cultivating and cherishing the director that you work with is something that is also the responsibility of a producer, and you can work in putting your director in the spotlight if you actively do that, and then sort of like make use of the buzz that is around a certain series or a film on a platform. And I think I really feel that it's a producer responsibility to build the reputation of the director, because I agree with you. We need to build a network of young creators who can do this, and we need to work on that.
And what made me think of most of the short film are for adults. If you look at the short film, that's where the more interesting work is being made for animation for adults, because that's why you can be creative and not limited. And if you if, like even the Oscar winner this year, it's his speech was about how animation for adults is important, and I think it's just when you go to the feature format, that's where the challenge is huge, and where you often be told by when you try to raise funding for animation for adults, it's like there is no market for it, so you have to do a family kid or film. It's so. I think for me, I'm working with short film. All the short film I'm doing is like with CNC, the Danish Film Institute, like, and I'm doing adult short film, and that's how I develop my relationship with my directors and like develop pipeline and R&D and all that. But really, the short film for like, and it's always been the case for short film, and I would love to see them in the cinema. Those short films. That's also like where animation shorts. I would love if it's possible to, because we don't have them on the platform. I mean, Netflix is starting a little bit, but it's tiny, tiny, tiny. And love this movie, the short film, but it's super high-end budget they're doing. I would love to see short films in cinema. I know there is some special screening, but if we could have before each film a short film for like animation live action for adults, that could be maybe a way to create an awareness around animation for adults. It might not be that easy because I'm not distributor, like, but. And I know it has been done before at some point, but yeah, well, I don't know what.
Usually the theater rather put some commercials that make money and put a short film that's as easy as that, you know.
Yeah, but I think it is possible. Like we do sometimes like release half-hour films for adults in the cinema. It's small, it's specific, but if it has like a good theme or it has like an interesting author, it is doable in a limited way.
And do you think that festivals are important?
Huge. You have them. You need to have them. It's nowhere around. Like, I mean, there's festival and often next to it you have a market as well that is not as glamorous, but it's super important. It's important to understand what is the trend, what is like what to. I don't know. For me, it's so obvious that I don't have an argumented answer for you. But yes, big yes.
Yeah, well, I think filmmaking is people's work. So the people need to meet
and share,
become friends and whatever, and that's what you do in a festival. So they're hugely important.
Yes, but I was thinking also to make the film known, and better known. I was thinking more of that. And,
Yeah, because festival is also as your peers. That's where people from you works with you. So I think it's very interesting to go to festival and listen to another producer, director that you appreciate the work. What do you think? And exchange on so I think that's it's key for us as filmmakers.
And we are going to wrap very soon, but I wanted to, as a conclusion, to ask each of you, where do you think the future lies for adult animation? Ian?
I hope the feeling that I have now, that it's something like it's going out of a niche, if I must say, is going to reach cinema in a big scale, and we will have creativity and audiences. That's my hope.
Yeah, I'm curious to see in 10 years where we are, because I think we are in a, even again to talk about the Netflix, I think they're trying out. I think they don't have the data yet to analyze if the money they're putting in animation for adults is gonna, I think they're so I would like to see in 10 years where we are, and I hope it's more easy to produce.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to visit that future. I think adult animation has been there, will be there, and I think there's a lot of interesting creators that I would love to work with and create new films with them. And so I'm looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I think Bruno, for example, and myself have done work with adult animation for a long time. So I really think now the market is ripe. We are at crossroads, so I'm excited too.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you for your time. And on this optimistic note, well, goodbye. Thanks for coming.